for Mayor on the Talk Shoe Radio Network and Informed Radio. Coming to you live every Thursday night, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. If you'd like to call into the show, the telephone number is area code 724-444-7444, and the call ID number is 95724#. And if you're asked for a PIN number and you're not a Talk Shoe member, please just use the guest PIN number £1. iLibertarian, we're listening to you. And we are back on iLibertarian. I'm your host, the King from Air, and we just got off the phone with marijuana advocate Jared Alloway from sensiblewashington.org, and they're doing tremendous things over there. Again, I recommend that you go and check it out at sensiblewashington.org, especially if you live in Washington, and get yourself grooving out there, getting some signatures. You know, if you're a pot dealer and you're making your rounds, you know, say, hey, do you got 5 minutes to sign this? You know, we could have 250,000 signatures in no time. So I promised tonight that I would talk about the deeper truth, and that is going to talk about now here in the second hour of iLibertarian. You know, it's funny. You know, I always feel like the chat rooms are empty and that, you know, nobody's listening to my show. And I guess a lot of people listen to the podcast. They download it and listen to it later, but you know, I took last Thursday off. It was Thanksgiving, and I'm getting all these emails. Well, your show's not on. Why aren't you doing your show? It's like, oh, come on now. I'm gone for one day, and apparently everybody misses me. I guess I must be seeing something of interest. But I do a lot of work with the Truth Movement and all these various circles of the Truth Movement, which are just all over the place. From, you've got your 9/11 truthers, you've got your tax truthers, you've got your comprehensive financial report truthers, you've got your RBE truthers, you've got your anarchist truthers. There's a lot of truthers out there laying truth out all over the place, and you know, I guess I've been a truther for over 13 years now, long time, and let me tell you, man, there's a lot of stuff floating around. There's a lot of stuff going on. Oh yeah, of course you've got your geoengineering truthers and your vaccination truthers, and like I said, there's a lot of truthers out there. There's a lot of truth being spread around on the internet these days, and you know, and I always think about the movie The Matrix. For those of you who have seen The Matrix, and you have to understand that, you know, The Matrix got one thing right, for sure. I'm not saying that we all live in a false reality and robots rule our lives or anything like that. That's not what I'm getting at. But they got this one thing right, and, you know, Neo is in his safe little, you know, world, and then he gets peeled back. And he finds that it's just a surface layer, and underneath there's this layer of truth and a true reality. And then, you know, as the movies progress, we find out that, you know, we peel that back, and there's another layer that, you know, he's just in another false reality, and then you peel that back, and there's another false reality underneath that one. And that's there's an old expression, and it goes like this: the truth is more like an onion than an apple. Okay, because and it's a reference to the people draw the apple as the fruit of knowledge. Well, onion I think is definitely better represents the fruit of knowledge because as you peel back the layer, there's just another layer underneath that and another layer underneath that, and that's really what it is that the truth is more like an onion than an apple. Once you peel back that layer, there's another layer underneath. So we get these government conspiracies, and we pull that back, and then we find out about banks, and then we pull that back, and we find out about the Rothschild, um, whatever crazy Satanist, mad religion nuts, and you pull that back, and I'm sure there's another layer underneath that. I don't know what it is. Aliens. I have no idea. But I'd just like to take a moment and simplify things if I can, with a deep, basic truth, and that is that everything in our world and everything in our known universe, really, everything that you could possibly imagine, boils down into three categories. And I'm going to get real heady here. I said this is a deeper truth, and this is going to be heavy, deep philosophical stuff here, if you will. But everything can be boiled down into three basic categories, and that is chemical, ethereal, and multidimensional energy. All right, I told you it was going to get heady here. All right, so chemical, ethereal, and multidimensional energy. Everything can be boiled down into these three basic groups. Okay, human beings, plants, trees, rocks, water, fish in the ocean. All of these things are basically a collection of chemicals. Really, when you think about it, human beings are nothing more than a bag of chemicals. A bunch of chemicals swirling around in a bag called skin, which is also made of chemicals, all in this big petri dish we call planet Earth. All right? And we make up all this crazy stuff about how we're supposed to, live our lives and this and that and all these other things, and we get into all this stuff about this celebrity and this congressperson, but really they're all just bags of chemicals. Really, Britney Spears is just a bag of chemicals. I'm just a bag of chemicals. Just swirling around, and we worry about things like the people doing heroin or smoking pot or snorting cocaine or drinking beer, but it's just chemicals mixing around. Like, it doesn't really matter, like, in the big grand sense of the thing. Who cares? Like, really, who cares about all this stuff? Who cares if the people are mixing their chemicals together? Who cares if people are off having, sex without a condom or gay sex, or or whatever it is that they're doing? If they're eating too many Doritos, it's just chemicals. It's just chemicals floating around, mixing up, making up people and things, and sewage and all sorts of other stuff. I mean, it's just a bunch of chemicals, and they're just doing what they do. They just do what they do naturally. Chemicals mix, create new ones. That's life. That's existence in a physical three-dimensional realm. That's what it is. Um, the second thing is ethereal. Okay, and now I'm not talking about angels and demons and God and stuff like that. When I say ethereal, I'll leave that up to the other philosophers. It's not what I'm talking about right now. When I'm talking about ethereal matters, I'm talking about things that do not actually exist except for in people's imaginations. All right. And like I said, I'm not talking about angels or demons and stuff like that or aliens. What I'm talking about is things like money. Okay. Money is an ethereal object. It's an ethereal matter. There is really no such thing as money. I see on Facebook all this time, all these people getting upset about, oh, money is the root of all evil. Money is destroying our society. Money creates greed and all this other stuff. Money cannot do anything on its own. It doesn't exist. Not real. It's made up. People talk about corporations. Corporations aren't real. They're not real. They're made up. Somebody wrote something down on a piece of paper and said, there is now a corporation. Well, guess what? If nobody could read that piece of paper, that corporation wouldn't exist. If stocks, the stock market, that's ethereal. It doesn't exist. Not real. It's not there. You can't hold it in your hand and say, this is the stock market. It doesn't exist. It's ethereal. It's an idea. It's imaginary. These are ethereal things, okay? So we've got the chemicals and we've got the ethereals, right? And the third thing that exists in our known universe is energy. Multidimensional energy. And multidimensional energy, the reason why I say multidimensional is because all energy is multidimensional. When you think about it, how does energy work? It radiates. It goes in every direction all at once. All right? It radiates out. It goes in 3 dimensions. It goes through the fractal dimension of time. All right, it moves through time, at least forward as far as we know. Who knows? It might move backwards too. I'm not exactly sure how the whole fractalization of time thing works. It's something I've been working on. I haven't quite gotten the theory down. I'm not sure, but we can assume that if it's radiating out in 3 dimensions, then if there are other dimensions, which there probably is, as scientists have come to believe what scientists say, then it must move through those dimensions as well, because it radiates out from its point of origin in all directions. And energy is, it's created in a number of ways, usually through a chemical process. But I'm making sound with my voice, and it's hitting a microphone. That's energy. It turns into electricity. That's energy. Will you say, well, the electricity goes down the wire? That's not in every direction. Well, the energy actually does go in every direction. We're just reflecting it down a wire, to make it go down the wire. Energy itself actually goes in all directions, but we make a piece of copper and the energy likes to stick to, and we wrap it in rubber, which reflects the energy. and then that's how energy travels down a wire. The energy is actually going in every direction. It's just it seems like it's going in one direction. But see, that's the three basic components of everything in our known universe: chemical, the actual, we've got the ethereal, the imaginary, and then we've got the energy, which is omnidirectional but not tangible, and that's everything. That's you want to talk about truth, that is the truth. If you want to get down to the deep root truth, that's the deep root truth. Everything consists of these things, and everything else is tertiary. It's unnecessary. It's there if you want it to be, and it's not if you don't. All these other things, governments and laws. Well, laws are ethereal, but that's one of the great things about ethereal. You stop believing in it and it doesn't exist anymore. I really honestly, like most of our problems in life are ethereal. All these things that we talk about on the show, marijuana laws and taxes and the money and the government and corporations, these things are all ethereal. They're all imaginary. Each and every one of these things only exists within our own imagination. These things are not real. Okay? Energy and chemicals are real, and that doesn't mean that it's not worth having, because there are certainly great ideas that we have that are ethereal. We can use them to create real things from these imaginary things. We can use these imaginary things as a tool to create real things like chemicals and energy. But if you don't like it, you don't have to have it. It just doesn't have to exist. Just forget about it, and it doesn't exist anymore. Like that's one of the wonderful things, and that's why we have to. That's why people like sensiblewashington.org have to go out and get these signatures, right? Which is completely ethereal. But what they're doing is they're creating an ethereal idea that this other ethereal idea doesn't have to exist. They're going out and collecting those signatures as a way to convince people that they can forget about these ethereal marijuana laws. This is why I asked Jared onto the show tonight, because I wanted to use that as an example. It's really amazing because we all can really agree that all this stuff is bad and we don't want it. Yet for some reason, if we don't go out and get 250,000 signatures, we can't, in our own minds, which are completely controlled by us through our chemical processes that we choose to accept into our body, and energies we choose to fire off in our brains. Unless we have this quote unquote proof, we can't accept the fact that these things are not real or unnecessary. It's really ridiculous how much time we wasted dealing with these ethereal matters out there. It's really just all a bunch of BS. Now, you might say, well, what about family? Is family ethereal? I say absolutely not. A family is a real thing. Family is chemical. You are linked to people chemically. They are as much of a part of you as you are a part of them, whether you like them or not. You can pick your friend's nose, but you can't pick your family. That's something real. That's a real chemical bond. Now, you might not be physically attached to each other, but sharing those same chemicals and DNA sequences, you are related, and therefore it is a real thing. Which is why I'm going to take the next 3 weeks off to spend with my family. It's after next week. Next week we're having Adrian Wiley of the Libertarian Party is going to be on. But after next week, I'm going to put down my microphone for 3 weeks and spend time with my family. So please don't email me saying, why is the show not on? Because I say so. Nobody's paying me. I'm just doing this as a public service. I can take 3 weeks off if I so choose. But yeah, I mean, if you really want to focus on something that's important in life, focus on family. And I know you're saying, okay, well, what about, when people get married, and, what about when they adopt kids and stuff? And yes, okay, that technically is ethereal, but that's one of the good ethereal things. I would say that's worth keeping. That's something I would keep in my mind, and I would keep that ethereal thing in existence. Friends, family, those kind of things. But all this other garbage that ruins our lives and drives us crazy and upsets us, we don't need these ethereal things in our world. We don't need them to exist. And in order to stop them from existing, you don't have to go out and collect 250,000 signatures. It helps for those people who don't understand the deeper truth. But if you do understand the deeper truth, all you have to do is forget about it, and it will go away. Anyway, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to iLibertarian. I'm the King for Mayor.